Vince DiMonte now. Vince is not just a social media influencer. He's really the trainer for trainer, right?
Yep.
Like the fitness expert for fitness expert.
Yeah.
So Vince, maybe take us back in the beginning a little bit, right? Like from back then, like how did you get into business and how did you get into what you do today?
Yeah, sure. Well, I knew nothing about business way back in the day. You know, I was nicknamed Skinny Vinny. I was a long distance runner. I was raised in a runner's family.
Yes.
Went to school and I got a degree in exercise science. In our university, we called it kinesiology.
Okay.
And I was destined to be a high school phys ed teacher.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's what I was meant to do because, you know, summer's off and hey, you're helping kids. And it sounded cool, you know, to be a phys ed teacher.
Yeah.
And, you know, while I was going to school, I was also enamored by these dudes I was living with who were buff and super muscular. Remember, I was Skinny Vinny.
Yes.
Right? And I was really always trying to figure out my identity. And thank goodness I had running. I was a very competitive long distance runner. I was very good at it. I found my identity in it. I even represented Canada in triathlon. I went to the World Championships.
Wow.
And that's kind of how I got through university and through high school and how I managed the nicknames. But I always had this curiosity with, if I transferred 60 to 100 miles a week of running into the gym,
What would that look like?
yeah, could I get big? It was just a curiosity. There was no like, could I monetize this? Could I write an ebook? Could I make more money?
Just doing it for your own like improvement, right?
That was it.
Got it.
Just to get the girls at the front desk to maybe take a second look. That was it.
Yes.
So I get into the workforce after spending $50,000 on a university education. I'm working for $10 an hour at the age of 22 at a local YMCA, 5 minutes from my house where my dad works out. And one of the first things my dad asked me after, you know, he sees me in the gym every day, you know, helping other gentlemen, you know, do the back extension, the same machine he uses, is, are you gonna be a personal trainer when you're 35? And I thought, he doesn't believe in this path. And I quickly realized that it wasn't his job to believe in me because nobody had ever gone down this path. There was no playbook for being a personal trainer.
And at the time, did he feel like that's not a real career?
Yeah.
It's almost like that's a hobby that you kind of do, right?
And how are you making $10 an hour after a $50,000 university education? You know, I mean, anyone on the other side would be, how do you make that calculation?
Yeah.
So I quickly realized that I needed to make him believe, and that's when I started getting introduced to books on wealth creation, one specifically, The Cash Flow Quadrant by Robert Kiyosaki.
Yep.
And I quickly realized that I was hitting a ceiling working at the gym, and my first inclination was to ask for a raise. So I asked my boss for a raise, and she said, let me talk to the boss. And they came back to me the next day, and they said, yes, we can give you a raise. In 1 year from now, we can give you a $1 raise from $10 to $11 an hour. And that's when I discovered the definition of job, just over broke. And that's when I realized it wasn't my boss's job to make me rich, but to provide me a paycheck. I was capped. And I went to a gym nearby that was known for sales, very aggressive. It was always full. And I got my first introduction to selling, which is something I knew
like
nothing
selling
about.
a gym membership,
Gym
right?
memberships.
Yeah.
And then quickly I saw I could make more selling personal training, selling 144 sessions and getting a 10 to 20% commission. And I quickly saw...
You're doing high ticket sales.
Literally.
That's like high ticket closing right there.
I was doing high ticket closing at the age of 22.
What was the package or what's the amount?
So my biggest package was 144 sessions.
For how much?
You get a reduction on that if they paid in full for $40.
Okay.
And I still remember my biggest package was selling a husband and a wife for the year paid in full. Yeah. And it just blew my mind.
How much was that?
So it was around $6,000, $7,000.
Yeah.
But then I'd made 20% on that.
That's like, yeah.
Yeah, and I quickly realized that was my first introduction that I could write my own paycheck. And I was like, wow, this is my opportunity to figure out how to make a name for myself and how to master this skill of selling and communicating and persuasion and following up with people and handling rejection. I had no idea that I was building what we would call today entrepreneur muscles. And I didn't know I was building this emotional resilience
Yes.
that has served me
Yes.
to this day. But that's where it all started. That's where like my birth into the world of sales, and I became the guy in the gym where everybody would just keep showing up at the office with coffee and they just put it outside the door, and they would just want me to stay in the office because it was my job to sell the training.
Yeah.
And I was writing everybody's paychecks, not literally, but
you are the rainmaker. You're the one that's generating revenue.
And I was like, I'm running the show. I'm like, wow, I brought this one department from 2 personal trainers to 15 personal trainers because I knew how to sell.
Yes. Which is the number one skill you need, by the way, to be successful in business.
Yeah.
Your ability to sell and close, right?
Next thing I know, my boss is offering me 20%. I started down at 10%, and when I sold over 20,000, I get 20% on that instead of, I think 5% as a scale structure, which was really smart. And then you removed my base, and I just worked on pure commission. And I mean, by my mid-20s, I was
closing.
Yeah, I was closing. I was a high-ticket closer in my mid-20s.
Yeah.
And I loved it, but it was also a roller coaster.
Yes, yes.
It was a freaking roller. It was days I was like, this is brutal. People left the office because things got awkward.
Yeah.
I didn't know what I was doing half the time, but I was persistent. And it was probably, man, oh man, I learned more from those years selling in the gym than I did at 4 years combined in university.
What are some of the things that maybe 1 or 2 key lessons you've learned during that period of time that helps you close a lot of sales?
People are not buying a product, and they're not buying an outcome.
Yeah.
When you buy personal training, you walk in overweight, you walk out overweight.
Yeah. Yeah.
People are buying feelings.
Yeah. Emotions.
And the more you make someone feel, the more you get someone to buy.
I like it.
All right.
Because you think about it, even if someone who buys personal training, yes, if they are going to show up, they're going to exercise and a couple times, whatever how many times per week, have a personal trainer, but that's still a future possible outcome, right? But they are investing, they're buying right now in order to get the outcome, right? So I think people need to understand, people, they buy because of emotions, they justify with logic.
Yes.
We know that, right? So that's cool, I like that. Give me another one.
Yeah, I think also, one thing I always threw back at people was, are you doing this with or without us?
Okay.
Are you doing this with or without us? So you join the gym, so you're gonna lose 30 pounds no matter what, right? Yeah? Okay, cool. So you understand today you're buying 4 things. You're buying speed, you're buying knowledge, you're buying relationships, and you're buying accountability. Does that make sense? So you're already invested. So I wanna find out, are you pursuing this whether you hire us or not? And now they see us as a vehicle to get there faster. So I want them to know what they're buying.
Yes.
Right? And that way they can say, yeah, I'm buying speed. Yeah, I'm buying knowledge. I'm buying relationships. You know, they're in a culture of community of trainers and other clients like them.
It's a community, right?
Yeah. And then they're buying accountability. So I think that's really, really important, so that when they say, yes, I'm doing this, I'm like, okay, cool. And I think that's really big because people get that.
Yeah, and they can see, maybe just on my own, I'm gonna get that slower. I'm not gonna get the knowledge as fast because I'm kind of figuring out through the school of hard knocks, right?
Right.
I'm not gonna get the relationship because I'm just kind of doing it on my own.
Yeah.
And I definitely don't get accountability because no one holds me accountable except myself.
Yeah.
So they kind of get no for all 4, right?
Uh-huh.
That's interesting.